ICE is running concentration camps on our southern border. And that is exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. If that doesn't bother you, we can have, okay, whatever. I want to talk to the people that are concerned enough with humanity to say that we should not, that never again means something. And that the fact that concentration camps are now an institutionalized practice in the home of the free is extraordinarily disturbing.
Does she not owe every Jew on this planet an apology? Has she ever been to Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, or Auschwitz-Birkenau in southern Poland, or Dachau in Germany? Never again is the phrase that Jews all over the world use to make sure that the extermination between 1939 and 1945 never happens again. And she's using concentration camps to describe what's happening on the southern border. How in the world is that acceptable?
You know, I don't use those words lightly. I don't use those words to just throw bombs. I use that word because that is what an administration that creates concentration camps is. A presidency that creates concentration camps is fascist. And it's very difficult to say that, because it is very difficult to accept the fact that that is how bad things have gotten. But that is how bad things have gotten.
In March alone, CBP apprehended and encountered over 103,000 migrants crossing without legal status, the most in 1 month for over a decade. Simply put, the system is full and we are well beyond our capacity. This means that the new waves of vulnerable populations arriving here and exacerbating the already urgent humanitarian security crisis at the border, we don't have room to hold them, we don't have the authority to remove them fairly and expeditiously, and they are not likely to be allowed to remain in the country at the end of their immigration proceedings.
Hey, good day. Welcome to another episode of Raw Report. I'm your host, Robert Bob TV Brown. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made a strong statement against Trump about the holding of captivity minors in these detention centers. She said that these detention centers are similar to concentration camps. Let me show you the concentration camps back in the day, and I'll show you the detention centers of today. Bill de Blasio goes on MSNBC and tries to say that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez shouldn't have made that statement, and she's wrong. Let's listen to what Bill has to say. Bill, who has no chance of becoming president, I'm kind of shocked that I'm trying to hear what he got to say, because I'm not a fan of Bill de Blasio. Watch this.
I'm curious, were you uncomfortable with the way Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez compared what's going on down at the border with concentration camps? Because some people took offense to that, to wait a minute. And this gets at language. This goes to the same thing.
100%.
This is somebody who may not understand what that means to
They are entirely different realities. Yeah.
And so she was wrong, and you would be critical of her. You would tell her not to use that language?
I respect her greatly, and I feel very close to her in terms of philosophy, but of course she was wrong. You cannot compare what the Nazis did in concentration camps, unfortunately, is without any historical. I mean, it's a horrible moment in history. There's no way to compare.
This does feel as if a little bit you jumping on Biden and others jumping on Biden, that this is...
All right, so let's stop there for a second. All right, so AOC didn't say death camps. Now, concentration camps, people end up moving from concentration camps to death camps. And why can't you call this the same? Because it started with detentions. Detention centers, Nazis had detention centers. They held the Jews in a detention center before they sent them to a death camp. They didn't know it was a death camp. But de Blasio, you don't know what's going to happen with these kids. De Blasio, who in the blue hell and heaven are you to tell her she is wrong? Now, I don't get on anybody bandwagon, but when I see a statement that you make that I think is a pretty strong statement, I'll probably side with you on this. Do you understand the history, de Blasio, that when Hitler, so-called, removed the Jews from the city, and his lame excuse for doing it, because they're all lame, they put them in detention centers before he sent them off to death camp, because that's where people went to die. There was no hope of those people coming out of those camps. They were exterminated. It started with detention first. You don't know what Trump is going to do, just like those people didn't know what Hitler was going to do. And they begin to be overwhelmed and overran. A lot of people was used as experiments. They were manipulated and played with. A lot of them was in there. A lot of them ended up being raped and brutalized, starved. A lot of them was burned alive in an incendiary. Some took their lives. And a lot of them was put on trains and carts, hauled off to a remote place to be shot and killed and dumped in a ditch to be covered. It started in a detention. So what I get about these politicians, they act like they know everything. I don't act like I know everything, but I know when it came to Hitler and anybody that did something crazy in society, it started with detainment. Put them in a place where they don't need to be. Get them. You found some way to get them off the streets and put them in detention because you had an agenda. I think these detention centers are almost down that line because we don't know what's going to happen with these people. We don't know what's going to happen with these kids. A lot of these kids are dying in this place. It's reported. They're in heinous conditions, sleeping on the floor, cold floor, with an aluminum blanket with no pillow, and deprived of sleep, no lights out, or nothing like that, because they got to keep their eye on them because they're scared they're going to escape. In some cases, they're not even given a toothbrush and nothing like that. They're not eating regularly. They're not getting a proper meal as a child, which is needed to grow. Just to use as an example to try to stop other people from coming in. What's the next way to make an example of these people in these detention centers? Who knows? Well, I do know this one thing. When it came down to the Nazis, detainment was a major part of getting the Jews off the streets. They detained them. And after detention, a lot of things happened from there. So now what you fail to understand that when it came to Nazi Israel, there was various types of camps. All of them was not death camps. There's various types of camps. Some were concentration camps, some was death camp, some camps were political prisons, and I mean there were so many different types of camps. But the bottom line is, when you look at images like these, regular people being identified, singled out, because it was hard to single out the Jews because some of the Jews could pass for white people. So once they found out you were a Jew, they stitched a star in there to separate you from pure white blood society, pure white society, blood is blood. And those who were not pure end up having that Star of David on, and they had to be sent to detention centers. From the detention centers, they end up being put on a train to go to some camp, whether it's a political camp, concentration camp, or death camp. The bottom line is started with detention centers. And these are the results of detention centers, whether you like it or not. They were in situations where they didn't get the necessary things they need. At first, everything was fine, food, clothing, shelter. Then that started to be tapered away. And yes, some of them end up going to death camps. Some of them end up going on a train ride to be told to get off the train and shot and massacred. But it started in the detention centers. Now, who's to say that even in America, that these things can't happen? See, we got people who are being shot and killed without going to a detention center. Some people actually go to a detention center and being told that they hung themselves or they killed themselves, aka Sandra Bland. I can go through different places in society today where people are being detained and being treated inhumane. So, Bill de Blasio, you need to wake up, bruh, because it always starts with detention. And with detention, it can go to something else. We don't know what's going to happen with all these people in these camps. When are they going to be reunited with their families? And when are they going to go home? And why are they in the detention? Why are these kids in detention camps, Mr. Trump? Tell me, why do you think morally, as a Christian, even you Trump believers, that it's okay that Jesus would approve that these kids be put in detention centers? Jesus says, suffer not the little one, that they may come to me. Jesus said we need to be as little children. Little children don't think about putting other little children in detentions. Only grown people do that. Evil, sadistic grown people do that. It was evil and sadistic grown people that put these Jewish people in these concentration camps, starting with detention. And that evil led to brutalization, starvation, and murder. And who's to say that evilness will not take place in these situations? Because right now, so-called evil is claiming to be Christians, and Christianity is nothing about what's going on with these kids. You know what Christianity would do? It will understand that you're a kid. And if you don't have a parent, it will put you in a good home, not leave you in a detention center. It will find you a good foster home. It will find you a good place where you can eat, sleep, and have a warm bed and a warm meal. Well nutrition. But no. You guys, some of you guys think this is okay. And you're getting offended because somebody called a facility a concentration camp. You're still trying to defend the people who are instituting this. These people who are allowing this to happen. These people who wrote this in policy. Yeah, that numbnut, you know what I'm talking about. Who wrote this as a policy. Why? Because he's a bona fide racist himself. It's sad that we got a former president that opened this door, Barack Obama. You got a current president that just ran right on in. It didn't, no casual walk, just ran in. And because of those two people working together, yeah. You got innocent kids. It don't matter what country they come from, that's in detention centers suffering. Their parents probably in another detention center suffering. Bad enough they're not together, you're going to separate them. Reminded me how when blacks came to this country, the whole family was separated. Very rarely catching up. Imagine how that feels. that you come to this country and you had this beautiful family that you grew up to love, and all of a sudden you were separated, never to be seen again, all because of a policy for you to help the country become rich. And yet today they want to huff and puff and blow the whole house down when somebody talk about a little monetary check. A check can't buy that, and that destroyed generations of people from that day point forward. It's not about somebody it's not about somebody trying to take money from you. Nobody's trying to take money from you. It's about a system that profit off black people and never gave them their part of that reward. Never shared the profit. Here we are, we got a class of people that's being detained, arrested, children being separated from their family, yet they come here and help make money. Not nowhere near as the slaves did, but they're doing jobs that most people won't do. And this is how you're gonna treat them. Now don't get me wrong, I'm pro-black. I am pro-black agenda over a gay agenda. I'm not gay, but I'm pro-black over any other agenda, Hispanic agenda, gay agenda. My number one concern is a pro-black agenda because I'm black and I have to be concerned for my community first. And I hope you guys understand that, and that's the reason why I talk about it a lot. But I don't just stay on that. I believe in humanity. Humanity, treating people with humanity, treating people with love and respect. And this ain't it. So de Blasio, just be quiet, man. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Silence is the first thing after hate that is dangerous. Because if you are silent, it's an approval of what's going on. I'm Sonia Kay and I'm a Holocaust survivor. When I watched the news of what happened in Charleston, I said, oh no, God, not again, please, no. It can't be happening. Because I know what hate did. I know what you're capable of doing when you hate.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us!
What do you want me to think? That cannot happen? Yes, it can happen. It's awful. When we came to Auschwitz, there were thousands of us. Our heads were shaved, our arms tattooed. I smelled every single day the bodies that were being cremated. This is where my father and my mother and my little brother were killed. If I lived, I said to myself, I'll never be silent, and I'm not. I'm not. The Nazis that I lived through and the Nazis now, I don't think much have changed. They have the same hatred. Getting an opportunity, I think they could repeat what went on. I'm worried for everyone's sake because there's this hate towards people. And right now, it's not only towards Jews, it's towards humanity. We're a country of immigrants, okay? Am I going to sleep tonight? No. And maybe tomorrow night? No. So what is a couple nights of not sleeping? To let the world know what happened and to understand that silence is not the answer and hate is not the answer?
Sheriff Jones?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the forum that you have here tonight. When I was a little boy in Poland, for no other reason but for being Jewish, I was hauled off by the Nazis. And for no other reason, I was picked up and separated from my family, who was exterminated in Auschwitz. And I am a survivor of Auschwitz and Dachau. I spent 5.5 years in concentration camp.
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't hear that one.
I spent 5.5 years in concentration camp for one reason and one reason only. Because we picked on people. And you as the sheriff, who we elected as sheriff of this county, We did not elect you the sheriff of Washington, D.C. It's about time you serve the people here. And when this gentleman stands up there and he says he doesn't go after any people, he should read today's B. Because in today's B, the Supreme Court Justice of State of California objected to ICE coming in and taking people away from the courts. Don't tell me that this is a lie. You stand up here, Mr. Jones, don't forget, history is not on your side.
If I could address your last part of your question, sir, you mentioned I didn't say we arrested people in courthouses. We don't arrest people on school grounds, in churches, and hospitals. We will arrest people in courthouses. And if there's a public safety threat in a courthouse, we'll continue to arrest in a courthouse. However, we don't go to courthouses looking for victims. We don't go to courthouses looking for witnesses. As I said in the beginning, we got specific targets, specific location, so it's a target enforcement operation. So when we go to a courthouse, sir, this is the truth. When we go to a courthouse, we're looking for someone that's been convicted of a crime, has a criminal history. And the courthouse is the last place we go. We would much rather go to a jail to get them, go to the residence.
No justice,
This is a country of immigrants. This is also a country of laws. Laws that I'm sworn to enforce and that I'm going to continue to enforce because that's my job.
Hey, thank you for watching that episode of the Rob Report. Before you go now, I need you to do two things for me. First thing, I want you to like the video if you liked it. Second thing, I want you to share it all across social media. And if you have not subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button right now. Stop and do it. As Jimmy Dore says sometimes, you think you're subscribed, or you go check and find out you're not subscribed. So make sure you check that you're subscribed and hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when I put a new content out. I'm not a fan of Super Chat, so if you plan on giving to the efforts of Bob TV, make sure you do that through Bob TV NYC at paypal.me. Anybody who want to have free access to my Patreon channel, I'm trying to save you money on your cable bill. I ran into a program that I think everybody can afford, and everybody should have, and that link is down there below. 5,000 plus channel, best sports package, and the best premium TV, and even international channels, and you can access this all over the world. Go ahead and check that out, get your free trial, and if you decide to support, become members of those two services, we'll go ahead and give you full access to the Patreon channel, and there's no cost to it. So my name is Robert Brown with the Rob Report. Thank you for watching. I'll holler at you later. Peace.